Hi everyone, and welcome to the Cora's Quilts YouTube channel. If we haven't met before, my name is Shelley Cavanna. I am a quilt and cross-stitch pattern author, I'm a textile designer, and I write quilting books like the Barnstar Sampler and the Flower Farm Sampler. I am thrilled to welcome you to our 8th Mystery Quilt Along series. Today's video is part of a 10-week series walking you through all the various steps in putting together Meadowsweet, our 2025 Mystery Quilt Along project. If this is your first time here, I just want to say welcome and to let you know that we're so very glad that you're here. And for those of you who might be new to Mystery Quilt Alongs, you are in for such a treat. Each week we'll share a new clue that guides you through creating different shapes and components. And the exciting part is you won't know exactly what you're making until the very end, when all of the pieces come together in a beautiful reveal. We've designed this mystery project with 3 gorgeous color stories to choose from. We've called them Summer Berry, Spring Bloom, and Coastal Breeze. I'll be sewing along with you using our Summer Berry palette, but you'll get to see each week's blocks mocked up in all 3 colorways. Whether you choose one of our curated palettes or pull fabric from your own stash, this project is going to be stunning. If you're looking for fabric requirements, cutting instructions, quilt size options, or for our full Quilt Along schedule, you can find the link to our Quilt Along homepage in the video description box below. We've shared the link to the YouTube playlist where you can find all of the Meadowsweet Mystery videos in one place. If you're planning on sewing along with us, we'd highly recommend subscribing to the Cora's Quilts YouTube channel, and be sure to hit that little bell icon too so you'll get a notification the moment a new video drops. We've also shared the link for our free digital Meadowsweet Clues checklist. This is a free download for you so you can keep track of which clues you've finished and where to start next time you sit down to sew. It's my hope that the Meadowsweet Mystery Program will provide the perfect way to carve out regular creative time and for you to practice a little bit of quilty self-care through time at your sewing machine. And hopefully the tips and tricks you pick up along the way will not only help you put together this project, but will help with the loads of amazing quilt projects you have ahead of you. Remember, we're here to help every step of the way, and we can't wait to see what you create. So grab your favorite beverage, settle into your sewing space, and let's make something beautiful together. Now let's dive into today's clue. Just a friendly reminder that our Meadowsweet Mystery pattern includes instructions for 3 quilt sizes: a 60-inch by 60-inch throw size, an 80-inch by 80-inch full size, and a 100-inch by 100-inch queen size. In our cutting and piecing instructions, the quantities needed of each unit for the various quilt sizes are listed with the throw size quantity first, then followed by the numbers needed for the full size and the queen size in parentheses. For example, for block 1, if you're making the throw size, you'll need 20 units. If you're making the full size quilt, you'll need 32 units, and if you're making the queen size quilt, you'll need 52. We think the easiest way to keep track is to highlight the number for your specific quilt size in your weekly pattern pages. This week we're working on Clue 2, which has us making partial log cabin units. These are assembled using 2 squares and a rectangle, and you'll actually be making 2 different sets of blocks this week. The first set uses the C square from fabric 2 in the lower right corner, and the second set uses the I square cut from fabric 6. These partial log cabin units are super easy to put together. We'll focus on the bottom row of the unit first by joining together a print square along with a background square. All you need to do is line up your corners and sew. If you find that your fabric is wobbling around a bit while you're sewing, you can absolutely secure your pieces with a pin or 2. Personally, I'm a bit of a minimalist when it comes to pinning, so I usually just skip the pins unless I have specific points I need to match up, or I'm sewing with really large pieces of fabric. Because we make multiple sets of each block, I also like to speed up my piecing time a bit by chain piecing. All you need to do is take a couple of stitches past the edge of one block and then immediately start sewing the next block without clipping your threads in between. You can be even more super economical with your time and sew all of your squares together for block 1, immediately followed by the squares for block 2. This way you only have to make one trip to the pressing station. I actually find that it saves me a whole lot of time to do as much of the piecing I can in one fell swoop before I head over and start pressing. In general, I prefer to press my seams directionally rather than pressing them open. Personally, I find it much faster and easier to match up and nest my seams this way. My pressing suggestions are shown as arrows in our assembly diagrams, but they are just suggestions. Some blocks will stubbornly refuse to listen to instructions. Some blocks might work better for you personally if they're pressed open. My honest recommendation is for you to press your own blocks in whatever way gives you personally the best results. I am piecing with Decobob thread, which is an 80 weight cottonized polyester thread. It's about half the thickness of traditional 50 weight cotton thread, and this also goes a long way to keep my seams from becoming too bulky. I'm also pressing on a 100% felted wool mat. You can find more information about this mat in the must-have and nice-to-have tools section of our mise en place video linked below. The wool mat absorbs the heat from the iron and reflects it into the back side of the block, so that you're essentially pressing from both sides at the same time. The result is superbly flat blocks without a lot of fuss. First, I'll press the block while it's still closed to set my seam. And I'll usually have the unit positioned so that the piece I'm pressing towards is on the top. That way, it's a simple matter of just flipping the piece into place and then pressing a second time to get the seam to go in the direction that I want it to. I also like to let my pieces cool under a tailor's clapper, which helps them stay nice and flat as well. Once you've finished pressing your square pairs, you're ready to finish your blocks by attaching the L rectangle to the top edge. If you've cut your fabric correctly and you're sewing with a true 1/4 inch seam allowance, then your L rectangle will be the exact same size as the bottom row. All you should have to do is line up your corners and edges and sew. Since this block is a little bit larger in size, I do like to pin the far edge of my block just to keep the corners squared up as I'm sewing. You don't have to worry about matching any points on the block, but you do need to keep an eye for your seam allowance to make sure that it doesn't fold over on itself. I like to sew with the square pair on top so that I can make sure that this doesn't happen. And this is where a stiletto or one of the orange wood manicure sticks come in handy. We mentioned these last week in our mise en place video. You can use it to tuck the seam back into place as needed. And just like our square pairs, you can also chain piece these units by taking a couple of stitches past the edge of your block, then immediately starting to sew your next block without snipping the threads. You'll finish these units by pressing the seam towards the top rectangle. Here's our finished block. And here's what the finished blocks look like in all 3 of our color stories. I think this just about wraps up this week's tutorial for these fun little partial log cabin blocks. If you're looking for the link to download this week's clue, you can find it by visiting our Meadowsweet Mystery Quilt Along homepage. The link is in the video description box below. And we'll see you next week with another Meadowsweet Mystery Quilt Along tutorial. Thank you so much for watching today's Meadowsweet Mystery Quilt Along video. Remember, you can share your progress photos or quilt pics over on Instagram using hashtag Cora's Quilts. And be sure to tag us at Cora's Quilts so we can see your photos too. Don't forget to stop by our website and sign up for our emailed newsletter to hear all about the happenings in our studio. We'll send you 2 free quilt patterns to say thanks for signing up. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Happy sewing, and we'll see you next week with another Meadowsweet Mystery Quilt Along video.